Thank you for checking out a new episode of Bad Advice with Chris Cubis, the show where unqualified people give unsolicited advice. I'm joined this week by professional wrestler and podcaster Colt Cabana and comedian Dan St. Germain. We get into it in some funny shit. There's aggressive poopers, misunderstood twerking. We get into some funny stuff, so give it a listen. Thank you guys for coming back for another episode. You guys have been doing the damn work, dropping them little 5-star jobbers on our podcast reviews and stuff. We really appreciate that. We are back with another killer episode. Great guests as always. Holy shit, I'm excited to have these two people here. Two very funny, very talented guests this week. Up first, you may know him from his long-running, super successful podcast, Art of Wrestling. He's on AEW Dynamite. I had most weeks at this point, I'd say, on TNT. Make some noise for Colt Cabana. Make some noise. I'm so...
Yeah, make some noise.
So fucking...
Come into the stage.
Embarrassing. I still do that.
You've seen him at comedy clubs and colleges.
Clubs and colleges across the country. It's been so... And I haven't done comedy in a year at this point, or damn near, and it's still ingrained in my fucking brain. How are you, Colt?
I'm good, and it's funny you say that everyone's leaving 5-star jobbers, because here I am, the 5-star jobber. On the show.
How is traveling for you? I know last week you were flying out to Jacksonville. How has that been going?
So every other week, I fly to Jacksonville to record on a Wednesday and a Thursday, and I've been doing that since the pandemic started. So I was on the plane like March 14th and March 28th or whatever it was, when it was just me, maybe one other person, and 2 flight attendants.
Right.
That has changed. Everyone is back on, but I'm always wearing my mask. I'm always sanitizing. I'm very careful about it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something me and the rest of the world don't have in common. But
do you do the shield? Do you do the face shield too? I've seen some people with that.
I do not do the shield.
Seems like a lot.
I probably should. Or if there is a Avengers joke in there somewhere, you place it in wherever you want.
I haven't left.
Just be easier to wear like a hat. I'm sorry
to
speak up.
That's Dan St. Germain, everybody.
Who's talking?
Oh, Dan. Coming to the stage. That's Dan St. Germain, everybody.
Oh shit! Wouldn't it be easier to just like wear a hazmat suit? Like once you're wearing the helmet with the screen on, it's like just go like full ET operation.
And I've seen them at the airport. There are many people with hazmat suits. It's not even like uncommon to see that now.
That's wild. We did. Last time I was on stage right before it was literally like the day before they shut down Austin, maybe 2 days. I was hosting the Austin Music Awards as like their big awards night or whatever. And we did a bit because it was like bubbling up about the pandemic, like talk and whatnot. And we did a bit where the co-host came out in a hazmat suit, and now that's not a fucking bit anymore. So that's awesome. Dan, how's things treating you? Are you still in New York, or where are you?
No, I'm in Massachusetts right now. Okay. I'm asking my wife to bring my dog a toy because she's kind of running crazy on this bed right now. Yeah. But yeah, I'm in Massachusetts. I'm going to Minneapolis next week, and then we're gonna go. I think in like March we're gonna go to New Mexico for a couple months.
Nice,
just to see what that's like.
Yeah. Did you get out of New York because like fuck it, there's no real need to be there?
Yeah, there's no reason to be there. I mean, I did a couple shows in New York in October, which felt weird, and just we left, man. There's no reason to be there. There was nothing going on. It was I Am Legend.
It feels like if you're the whole point of living in New York is like you get to live in New York and experience New York, and that's the offset for paying insane rent and dealing with all that shit. And if you can't, none of that's happening, like go move to Massachusetts.
No, it's just it's just a prison. It's a smelly prison. It's a smellier prison. I'm sure prisons are smelly, but
I can only assume prisons are a little ripe.
I'm such a lover of New York. I'm going to pretend you said it's a prism.
A prism. Well, with all the different lifestyles, cultures, and religions, it always is a prism, Colt.
There it is. Yes,
for me.
Yeah, Chris, I'm in Chicago.
It's still in the Windy City. Is Chicago? Are people reasonable? Like, what is your like? You're out in the street. Like, what's it like? Are people doing?
Yeah.
Work
for the most part, people are reasonable. Yes, I go to Planet Fitness because I have to work out my
job, right? Like, you have to be in shape.
And yes, I constantly am going over to the people that work at Planet Fitness and telling them to yell at people to put on their masks. But for the most part, We're doing okay.
You're like a Planet Fitness 11. As far as
I really am.
Like you're like Schwarzenegger in the fucking 80s, but at Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness, I swear to God, the last time I was a member of Planet Fitness, next to the membership sign up, they had a bowl of Tootsie Rolls.
Yes.
And then a sign that said Pizza Fridays. I'm like, you guys aren't even fucking trying.
I signed up for Planet Fitness, and we were there. I had like maybe 2 or 3 months. It was right before the pandemic, and immediately it was like, oh, thank God, I got out of that. I don't have to fucking do that anymore. But I went, and they had, when I signed up, there was a fucking table full of Dominoes just to the side. I was like, maybe this gym isn't so bad. This is like my kind of gym. And you're right about being in a Planet Fitness 11. I felt pretty good. I was like working like every once in a while. I'm like, oh man,
you're like Benicio del Toro at a Planet Fitness.
I'm like not so out of shape. That guy's wearing construction boots. Maybe I'm not so bad.
And it's not a bad gym. I mean, I guess I don't know.
They have the stuff, right?
They have the stuff.
Yeah, like what? I mean, other than like space, what makes a good gym?
That's their tagline. Planet Fitness. Yeah. We have the stuff.
There were several people. There were several homeless people that would like clearly were maintaining a membership because it's like $10 a month or whatever to like use the showers and stuff. And
we have Planet Fitness. We have a shower.
Yeah, and also good. Like that makes sense. I would do that if I was homeless. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump into some of these letters because I've got a bunch and they get so the one thing I have learned going into these letters as doing this podcast is you've got to wait because there's almost always it'll seem very normal and then halfway through the letter they all take a fucking weird turn. For example,
Chris, before you start,
yeah, please.
Sorry, I'm really not familiar
with Dear Abby. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So Dear Abby has been a long-running advice column. It's nationally syndicated in a lot of newspapers. You write into Dear Abby, and she with your questions about love or etiquette or any number of things, and she writes back in the paper an answer. And
I know it's a genre that a lot of people do it, but this is
Dear Abby is the one, yes. And also, and now at this point, I believe it's her daughter. It's not the original Dear Abby anymore, but it's the same column. And they have archives online going back to like the 80s. Like,
and is this what you're pulling from?
I'm pulling all from that, absolutely.
Okay.
So we are dealing with old people, but these are relatively new letters. For the most part, these letters are all within the last year or so.
I don't really know the history of Dear Abby. Mm-hmm. Did she what the fuck qualified her to give any advice?
Man, I don't think anything. And judging by the people writing these letters, I don't think they care. Mostly these are people looking for someone to validate their wild accusations and opinions about things.
You're just pumped they wrote a letter.
Yeah. And also like the idea, we've talked about this on the podcast, but the idea imagine you're at your wit's end. Right? A lot of these things are some of them I don't pull because some of them are too serious. Some of them are very about abuse and very difficult topics. And your only respite is a newspaper. Like you have to physically write a letter to the newspaper. That is a bummer.
Yeah.
So this was founded in 1956 by Pauline Phillips under the pen name Abigail Van Buren and carried on today by her daughter Jean Phillips, who now owns the legal rights to the pen name. So that is the history. What she was, who knows? Apparently she was relatively progressive on gay issues. That's something. And that seems to be continuing through a lot of these letters. People do ask a lot. Well, let's just get into them and you'll get a better idea of what we're dealing with. Dear Abby, new neighbors moved into my apartment building about a month ago. I don't mind that sometimes I hear their kids. I don't mind that sometimes I hear the adults. But their alarm clock wakes me up every morning at 6 a.m. It's loud, and I'm guessing it's up against the adjoining wall. Normally, I sleep until about 8. I work from home, and I'm usually up until 1 a.m. or so. I'm a night owl, and I just simply can't go to sleep any earlier. It's impossible to sleep through their alarm. It's been weeks. I'm afraid if I complain, they will call me a racist since I am white and they are black. But it's not a race thing, it's a sleep thing. What should I do? Signed, Sleepless in Baltimore. What is this turn? Look, we've all had neighbors. I'm assuming most of you lived in apartments most of your life. Noise is an issue. Have you ever been concerned that you hit on the floor and they're all of a sudden they're going to call the ACLU on you or something? NAACP? I mixed up my acronyms.
I haven't had that problem. Chris, is this the porn version of Sleepless in Seattle? Is that how that works?
I've watched the regular Sleepless in Seattle and the porn version. Not a ton of racism in either of them. What is this man doing, do you think, that's his fear? You know what I mean? Why? How is he addressing this problem?
Well, I can tell you what I would do. Do you want to know what I would do?
What would you do?
I would buy them an alarm clock that is like the sweet sounds of the ocean and just be like, and you bring it up a little bit. You're like, because listen, I'm sleeping to 12 every day. Dan is sleeping to 3 p.m. every day for sure.
Yeah,
right.
I don't even know if I'm up now. I got to be
right. Honest. So we're two people that appreciate a good sleep.
Yeah.
So you have to do everything you can to like change this pattern. This is big time.
Sure.
This person needs the sleep. So I think the move is to be like, you bring up that like how much you love sleeping, and yeah, like the alarm is going off a little bit, but hey, here's a neighborly present of the ocean waking you up, and I think a neighbor would love that.
Yeah, I mean there are several ways to address this that don't involve the N-word. Again, I'm maybe the only one who is stuck on why they think he's
You're worried
racist.
why the racism.
That's a big part of this problem for me, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think the alarm clock is an easily solvable thing. You go over there with a pan of cookies, you say, hey, can you put the alarm clock on the other side of the room? It's a pretty easy thing that I think if addressed reasonably, people will find a workaround for. I think he's addressing it in a very aggressive manner.
What's the loudest, most obnoxious neighbors you've ever had, or roommates you've ever had?
I'm terrified to think that I was likely the annoying neighbor in most of these situations.
I'll tell you, I was definitely one of them for sure. Yeah.
I snore terribly, so I'm sure that was really bad for roommates. I've been lucky, I think, for the most part, in that I haven't had any real terrible like roommate situation. Like I've had roommates that were wild, but I was also wild at the time. You know what I mean? Like I had Nick Mullen was a roommate for Nick Mullen was a roommate for for a few years of mine, and he would come stumble. Nick Mullen,
Chris Mullen
podcast.
Chris Mullen was a roommate of mine.
yeah, who's always dunking on you. And he would come home. Nick would come home, stumble drunk, open the door, throw a hand in the air and say, would be like, slept in a graveyard. This would be like 9 o'clock in the morning and just pass the fuck out. So like, but I was also drinking and shit. So like, it wasn't that terrible.
Yeah, it didn't really matter.
Yeah. What about you? What was your terrible neighbor situation?
I was living in Washington Heights once, and I had two roommates, but what was even worse is that my landlord used the living room as his office, because it was like an SRO, so I was only spending like $100 a week. Like it was like dirt. And so I would wake up for him screaming about his stock options in the living room, just being like, no, bitch, Sal. And he had like a really thick Dominican accent. And then the other guy walked around. He walked around with a gun. And then and he's like, he told me he was a cop. And then like a couple weeks later, drunk, he's like, hey, remember when I told you I was a cop? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I lied. And like literally like a Schwarzenegger, like that. Like, but really like morose. It was really bizarre. And then another roommate I had was this guy who like, he was a really nice guy, but he was like, like this was in the same place. He wore like feety pajamas and no underwear, so you could see the outline of his penis.
Sure.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. At the time I was drinking a lot. Like a girl almost OD'd in my room. Like it was a real hold steady song. But
I like to imagine that the first guy, the guy who was working from the home office, like that phone wasn't plugged in. None of that was real. He was just screaming about imaginary stock options into the ether.
But yeah, I've lived in a bunch of neighborhoods, and I've never really. I mean, I will say that Washington Heights. Like I lived in a black neighborhood, totally fine noise wise. Washington Heights, man, reggaeton, they play that shit at fucking 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, I would go to my job at the security, and there would be, like, literally, like, young star-crossed lovers dancing to reggaeton in front of, like, courting in front of me. And I'm like,
yeah.
Tuesday at 7:30.
It's just, you lived in the Heights?
Lived in the Heights. That's where I lived. Yeah, it felt like it was a musical about, like, representation was going to start at any moment. And I'm like, I just want to be drunk and alone.
Colt, nightmare neighbors?
To be honest, I don't know. My mom would nag me a lot when I lived at home.
You have to have been on the road though, like with other guys, right? There has to have been some.
Yeah, but I stay away from the maniacs. To be honest, when you're someone who's not a drinker, not a partier, you kind of all stick together.
That kind of makes sense. And you're like, people don't know that. Maybe don't realize you're sharing a lot of hotel rooms for a long time.
But we kind of choose who we partner up with.
Sure.
We try to partner up with like-minded people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Colt, it's so funny you say that because it's like I look at like my times doing like comedy, and I really did probably the least amount of drugs and alcohol I did when I was doing comedy compared to the times I wasn't doing comedy. And the same thing with so you'd think like the times doing wrestling or comedy, that would be the most drugs or alcohol. But for me, it was probably when I was a security guard or a janitor. Like it was like just the most normal jobs. That's where I was around the craziest people. Like
I wonder how much of that was your self-medicating to deal with that job that you hated. You know what I mean? Did you love comedy so you didn't need the booze?
What came first, the flask or the cold hobo? We'll never know.
Dear Chris, I have a job that I hate. I constantly find myself doing drugs and alcohol.
I mean, I don't think I'm making that up as a way people handle their shitty lives. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like, if I had a job I hated, I guess I would be.
Oh, I've been drunk. I've worked a lot of bar jobs that I hated, and I would just drink through them. I'm getting actually, I think the pandemic has been good for me. I've been relatively sober this whole time, but like I've had a lot of shitty bar jobs, and I drank through a lot of them. So I totally understand. Maybe I'm projecting a little bit.
No, I mean, I definitely have been there. I worked at an Irish bar, and I was like blacked out the last month.
I think we can agree it's an easy fix to get this person a better alarm clock. But still would like to understand why he's so afraid that they're going to be.
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
You want to know? It's the white guilt. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to say the wrong thing. I hope I don't.
Sure.
I have greatness in my heart, I feel. But as a white person, like, I never want someone.
As a white person, I have greatness in me. That sounded so bad. Chosen along with the Knights of Templar to deliver European values to the Dark Continent.
I don't want anyone thinking I'm racist or sexist or homophobic or homophobic or anything that has, it's like, I think we fear a little bit that like if we ever have a problem and someone is of a different,
right,
of us, like we fear that. I think, that could be the problem. And maybe for some it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the issue here here's my concern. I have been the person that you come to, hey, I have an issue. And unless you're like outwardly racist, I don't assume it's a racist. If you come to me because my alarm clock's going off and you just go, hey man, it's really loud and I'm trying to sleep, I go, that is a reasonable issue. If you come in with like, look, your black ass alarm clock is going off, well now we're gonna have to talk about this. It's a very the concern, while justified,
your
I think
black ass alarm clock.
I just don't understand what is this dude's alarm clock?
It's like Red Fox walking into your room and like yelling at you at like 6 a.m. and then walking out.
Yeah. It just seems wild to me that like, I understand the fear, but I think as long as like, I think what that screams to me is a guy who's been called racist a bunch of times. And if you've been called racist a bunch of times, it is probably because you're doing some racist shit. That is not an accusation that people just throw around for fun. But that's all good. We'll move on to another, maybe a little less, controversial topic. How about this one? This one made me laugh super hard. Dear Abby, I'm the happily married mother of 2 teenage boys. The other day, I overheard my older son, 17, talking with a friend about twerking. I have never heard of it, and now I'm worried. Is twerking a drug term? Is it similar to tripping, getting high, or catfishing? My 17-year-old is supposed to go to Princeton next year on a sports scholarship, and I'm afraid twerking will derail him from his charted path. Thank you for any advice you may have. Signed, Troubled Mom in Connecticut.
Wait, the 17-year-old's going on a sports scholarship to prison?
To Princeton.
Oh, to Princeton.
Yeah. He is so good at basketball. He's going straight. It was Penn State or the State Penn. It was one of the.
There it is.
It sounds like a great Def Jam poetry line.
Yeah, this is really about
the state scholarship to San Quentin.
I remember when I did all those drugs, cocaine, catfish,
Yeah. I love
catfish. Sounds like some like New Orleans crank, like some shit they do on True Detective.
yeah. The Yellow King is really into catfishing.
Yeah.
I love the idea that this person, a simple Google solves all this lady's problems, right? Typing twerking into Google, she doesn't have to write this letter, but she went straight to Dear Abby.
It's the Googleable age because
it's twerking.
Catfish, right? Twerk, right? Exactly.
Just happened. This isn't old.
As a great white person,
sure. As some might say, a supreme white person,
strong white man.
As a Planet Fitness 11, I would like to say this. Did either of you feel like, I don't know how you felt, Dan, but I felt real hip and real cool that I knew what twerking was right away.
I you know what it is? I mean, I imagine as far as who's ever writing these letters, it's just whatever 25-year-old copywriter who's way too overeducated for it, and it's just like, all right, well, like some mom from Connecticut would not know what twerking is.
Oh, so you think this is a fake letter? Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's just predetermined.
From the predetermined. Yeah, it's a shoot. It's a work shoot. I don't know, man. I feel like I don't think like twerking is a race thing. I think twerking is like a how hard you've had it in life, because if you see in Russia, like the twerkers in Russia are fucking so good and hot, and it's only because it's like, like the closest thing they have to Tiger Beat is like a picture of Khabib, like it's not.
It's exactly that. It's MMA, boxing, and twerking. Wherever if you're further, what's that Chris Rock joke about lower on the social ladder? But what I love about this is it is such. Let's just assume it's a real letter. It is such the prime example of that parental fear of a thing they don't like, or like something they heard and now they're scared because it was like it was on like 2020. Like I remember one time it was rainbow parties. Remember when that was supposed to be a thing?
Oh, the dick suck thing? That was a dick suck thing, right?
I think that was a dick suck thing. There was always something you were supposed to be like, and this is, I like the idea that it's just twerking now. It's just literally shaking a butt. That's the worst thing this woman has to be afraid of.
What does twerking stand for? Is it something and working? Butt working?
It's probably butt working. I don't know that it stands for anything. It would make sense that it's probably somewhere with a tweak and a work.
Can we call it?
I haven't done the etymology of twerking. Definitely comes from New Orleans. I'm pretty certain of that. I think that was
people aren't acknowledging how much I love butt working. I think that's great.
Twerk is dance to popular music in a sexually provocative manner involving thrusting hip movements and a low.
Where does the name come from?
Doesn't say. This is just
origin.
I feel like even if I explain what twerking is, I'm going to sound like a white guy in Belle Bellamy's How to Be a Player or something. Like even saying it, I feel like, isn't that when you?
Oh man, it is funny to me how you can trace black comic white voice to like the 60s and it has never changed. It is like, if you just watch that progression, it is just the same. I've never met that white person in my life, but that's
not only that, just in case you thought, I really never thought that this line, I thought like it was going to be the hacky thing just from when I started, but it has been the hackiest thing that they keep doing, is like every time you're at a club in a white neighborhood and there's a feature that's the local black comic, right, they start out by going, I know what you're all thinking. What is this black motherfucker doing up here? And I'm like, well, you were here at the early show. We know why you're here at the early show. Like, I've heard that line fucking 200 times.
And like every variant. Oh, this feels like an auction block. Like
all the time.
Every one of them. Oh, it's the only chip in the cookie or whatever. All those.
Right. Well, it's the same because I do that. Like, I mean, a lot of people, like, I've done that too, where I'll wear like a shirt that's dumb, and I'm like, I know what you're thinking. I look like the creepy guy from Six Flags, and then somebody rightly pointed out, like, motherfucker, you chose to wear that. You're the one who chose to wear it. You're burning it's a preconceived burn.
Yeah, it's but also the funniest shit is when you see the comic who he knows that's his opener, so now he has to wear that shirt. You know what I mean? The guy who has built the shirt rip into his act, so now he has to wear that.
I've done that. I've had a hat bit. I've done that. I've been that guy.
I think this lady's gonna be fine. I don't think this guy's gonna twerk his way out of Princeton. I just think it's funny that this poor scared woman is writing a newspaper that asks what twerking is. When again, this is 2020. You can find that answer pretty fucking easily. Let's go on. We've got some more here. This one's interesting. Okay, let's try this one here because I hate this person already. Dear Abby, I was wondering if you could give me some advice on tipping. I frequent coffee shops in my area as well as when I travel. The baristas are usually younger women. Usually there will be a tip jar located near the cash register. A typical latte costs $5 to $6 and I leave $1 in a tip jar. I realize that many servers may be distracted if they're waiting on other customers, but is it normal for them to never acknowledge someone who is giving them a tip? Is the tip just expected? Again, I realize there could be distractions and maybe the baristas don't notice me tipping them, but it seems like the rule rather than the exception. I think it comes across as lousy customer service. How hard is it to say thank you? Is this another example of a generation of poorly raised people? Signed, Sipping and Tipping in Connecticut. I would like to point out two things that makes me think this guy is a creep. He made a point of saying that the baristas are usually younger women. That does not factor into this at all. There is no reason to include that. This is just a story about putting money in a tip jar. And this weird thing where he goes, it seems that they never acknowledge me, and it seems like the rule. What that tells me is you are creeping out the women at your coffee shop.
Yeah, you hate women.
And they are turning away from you as quickly as they possibly can.
I think that's what Jared Leto's character says in the Small Pretty Things or whatever. This one All right, it was too. I really need to have the movie referenced from when I use it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely do the thing where this is like one of the lamer things that I do, and my ex-girlfriend pointed this out once. Is that I sometimes if somebody's in front of me or like playing music or like whatever, I like hold up the tip.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want you to know I'm a good guy.
I did the
I'm
thing.
A good guy.
Yeah.
There you go.
It depends on my situation. So like, I don't think that's necessarily bad. Like, let's say it's you've moved to a new neighborhood. It's a new bar, new coffee shop, whatever it is you're going to, and you're going to be establishing sort of an ongoing relationship with these people. You're going to be there a lot. It is good to let you, as someone who has worked the other side of that counter, let me know if I can see that you're tipping, you're going to get better service, and like we will have a conversation, like we'll be cooler together. So I understand the motivation to do that. What I don't get is why this is happening to him at every coffee shop he goes to, locally and while he's traveling. Why is this such a problem for him?
This is a guy who thinks gang stalking is real. You know, there's a lot going on with this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel he'll get more bang for his buck donating to some OnlyFans, you know? Fine, you know?
I feel like that's probably a little more, but he also strikes me as the kind of guy that would give people shit for having an OnlyFans. You know what I mean? Like this doesn't, I'm hung up on this. The baristas are usually younger women. That is such an unnecessary bit of information that really speaks to who is writing this letter.
I'm glad that's what you're mad about, because you started this off saying, I hate this guy already. And then you were like, he wants people to acknowledge him to tip. And I was like, oh no, I do that also. Just like Dan said he did. Am I a piece of shit?
It's not just, but again, if it was all baristas, that'd be one thing. Maybe you're just tiny and they're missing you. But the fact that it's women and they never acknowledge him, he's making such a thing about this. And as somebody, have you ever,
not all baristas.
have you worked, Dan, I know you have. Have you ever worked like service industry job?
No, that's why. Like when you said that, I was like, "Oh no, are we not supposed to wait for them to see the money going in the jar?"
No, you can do that once in a while. It's fine. Again, like I said, especially if you're going to be there for a while, it's good to let people know you're doing a thing. And there's a way to do it without coming across as a dick. But like, as someone who
do it like fucking Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos, like that, how blatant I do it. Like I crumple it up and show it to him, and then put it down.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look at this.
And honestly, I would rather that than no tip. That's the worst thing in the world.
Right.
I hold a grudge to this day. Fisher Stevens, the actor Fisher Stevens, you might know him in Brownface in Short Circuit. I was working a bar during South by Southwest. He ordered 9 shots, chilled and dressed of Patron. So 9 shots with salt rims and fucking limes. Busiest fucking night you could possibly be. Tip $0.
Fisher.
So that's 6 years ago, and I'm still mad about it. So I understand the not getting tipped.
What if he just like sent your Patreon like $200? Would you get rid of that grudge?
I probably would. Honestly,
Okay.
it probably wouldn't even take $200, but like I'm cheap. But he's not going
Was
to.
he hammered?
No,
That's the only.
that's fine. And it was it was a credit card.
That's
so like
the only thing that I could think is like he was so hammered he didn't know what was going on. But like
100%.
that's,
And I've
that's
seen
bad. That's bad. That's
This was-
really
Are they
bad.
doing a Short Circuit 2 panel? Why is he there?
Yeah, he was probably chasing Michelle Pfeiffer. Wasn't he married to Michelle Pfeiffer at one point?
There's some shitty like Chris Hardwick talking Short Circuit show at fucking Southwest. It was what a nightmare way to spend a night.
Is chasing Michelle Pfeiffer meaning trying to get that first high?
Yeah. He's looking for more coke. So yeah, and again, this other thing is this another example of a generation of poorly raised people. So you're old. That's an old person line.
And
right?
entitled.
This again, it's like I realize there could be distractions.
White forefather.
Yeah, I just don't like anybody that clearly feels entitled to somebody's intention and like tip to tip and like not to be applauded. You know what I mean? Just do the right thing.
That's my favorite porn. Tip to
tip. All right, let's try this one off for size. Where are we here? Oh, I like this one. Made me laugh too. My college-aged granddaughter is no longer speaking to me, answering my phone calls, or allowing her other grandmother, who raised her, to post anything on Facebook where I can see what she is doing. My granddaughter came to live with me last summer because she worked a summer job here. I asked her if she was gay, not because I think she is, but as a prelude to a conversation about not allowing other girls to recruit her into a same-sex relationship, as I saw in college and while teaching public school. Although I tried to explain, things have grown progressively worse. My son and her mother married when she was 7 and divorced when she was 13. Over the years, I've worked hard to develop and maintain a relationship with her. Now she has told the other grandmother that she will never speak to me again. Was what I did so bad, and what should I do now? Signed, Other Grandmother in North Carolina.
I feel we didn't get a lot of that story.
I
feel like that's not the first. Never speak to her again on the first.
Is a
first racist thing from a family member is a lot. I don't think it was the first thing.
Very aggressive comment. Also, it might be my favorite kind of homophobia. They're recruiting homophobia. You know what I mean? Like, there's the fact, like, there's the, gay people are gross homophobia. That's like horrible, obviously. And not that this is any better, but it is hilarious to be like, careful. They're going to show up. There's going to be pie and there's going to be lemonade. And the next thing you know, you're going to be eating pussy. Like, it's just the idea that they're recruiting you into a relationship really makes me laugh.
And she did say, she's like in college and when I work, basically like all aspects of her life, she finds there's recruiters.
Yeah. This is a person who thinks everyone who like waves at them is trying to like.
It's just one of these things too. When they say recruiters, it's usually like almost every girl I know who went to an all-girls school had some sort of relationship with another girl because that was the option. That was it. Those are the people that were around. So it's like if it was us three for the next 50 years, we would probably be some disgusting polyamorous male relationship. It's just
eventually.
like, you just like whatever. Yeah, eventually it would happen. Like you just eventually. So it's like, they're always like, ooh, they're going to recruit. It's like, well, it just depends on how many people are there. It has nothing to do with, there's no convincing, you know?
And also, if I'm curious as to what this when this college experience was for her. Because if she's a grandmother now, you're figuring she went to college the 60s, 70s. I'm terrible with time frame. People are maybe becoming a little more open about homosexuality, that sort of thing. But then what's wild, that makes sense to me. It's college, people do stuff. where was this public school? Like, she's teaching elementary and high school, I'm guessing. It's not college. She's not teaching public college. So, like, what is this recruitment going on at her local junior high? Again, also, you are 100% right that this is not her first uncomfortable statement made. You know?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Nobody gets like, look, I do think that if you're close to some of your friends and they say something, you know, that you really they piss you off or whatever, and you cut them off immediately, like, either that's the 20th thing that's happened or you have something psychologically wrong with you where you can't, like, you don't believe people can be fallible or something. So you have these crazy, you know, things. So I think that this is probably a few merry-go-rounds for her.
Yeah. And
the old, what's his name? Fred Phelps carousel.
And again, they've grown. Also, I don't know how things have grown progressively worse if she's just not talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, how she says, although I've tried to explain, things have grown progressively worse. You're just not in contact. So what is progressively worse about this? You're just, this woman strikes me as, one, not giving us the whole story, and also maybe over dramatizing.
Keep yelling queer louder and louder or whatever.
She's just making things progressively worse. That's absolutely right.
She's not talking about crocheting the sweater that says "Pray the gay away" for Christmas.
And I also like here's how you can tell she's just doesn't get it and is just too old. Her assumption was that she offended her granddaughter by asking if she was gay, right? And she goes, not because I thought she was. Like, as if that's what's offensive to the granddaughter, that she thought she might be gay. This granddaughter doesn't give a fuck about that. She'd probably be thrilled if you thought she was gay. But she is offended by you thinking this whole recruitment scheme you think is happening. Here's what's up. I don't know that you can help this relationship. You either have to, like, get over your homophobia and just go apologize and maybe learn of that.
Yeah,
people aren't trying to trick your granddaughter into a relationship.
You got to show up in, like, pride flag, like, draped, rainbow sweatpants, just being the cool grandma. That's how you win her back. It's the only way, I feel.
I think that's the only move. Also, I'm going to actually read a second letter here because it ties nicely into this one, and we can just kind of go back and forth real quick. Dear Abby, my husband and I relocated to Florida a little over a year ago, and were quickly welcomed into our new neighbor's social world. 2 couples in the neighborhood are gay, 1 male and 1 female. While they are nice enough, my husband and I did not include them when it was our turn to host because we do not approve of their lifestyle choices. Since then, we have been excluded from neighborhood gatherings, and someone even suggested that we are bigots! ! Abby, we moved here from a conservative community where people were pretty much the same. If people were different, they apparently kept it to themselves. While I understand the phrase, when in Rome, I do not feel we should have to compromise our values just to win the approval of our neighbors. But really, who is the true bigot here? Would you like to weigh in? Signed, Unhappy in Tampa.
Yeah, when in Rome, and also when in Florida, I feel is also a saying.
Yeah. Also,
of course they use when in Rome because they don't know the difference between a gay person and a pedophile.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, who's the real bigot here? You, the only person who's done anything bigoted? I don't understand what your question is. But also, this idea, I love how shocked they are that they've been excluded. You've shown up to a group of people who clearly all like each other and are all friends. And then you have suddenly decided to say, we don't like half of your friends. Well, then they're not going to hang out with you anymore. Like, if I show up and go, hey, I don't like your friend, then I'm probably not going to be invited to your friend's party. It's just, that's obvious.
We don't like the half of your friends that like each other.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
Dude, who's inviting neighbors to parties? Like, you got to be nice to neighbors, but, like, you just don't, like, because if you meet, if there's a weird thing, then you're seeing that person forever.
Yeah, you want to be nice and distant. You want to be friendly and distant.
Very nice, very distant.
That's Dan's excuse he tells himself because he's never been invited to a neighbor's party.
Yeah.
And is wondering why.
So, obviously, these are old people, right? They've just moved to Florida. That's what this is. This isn't young, hip 20-somethings moving to Florida and suddenly having a problem with gay people. This idea that, like, we moved here from a conservative where people were pretty much the same, and if they were quote-unquote different, they kept it to themselves. You can't even say the word gay. You have to, like, say different. You know what I mean?
Well, they obviously think they're right, which is very sad.
Oh,
also,
sure.
I feel the way they said that is saying that these people are quote unquote different. I think is worse than saying these people are gay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's way more offensive. If you if you say a gay person is gay, that is a fact. That doesn't you can say it with some stink on it. If you say it with some attitude,
if you say they're different, that means they could be like black or Latino. Jesus.
But then also this idea where it says, I don't feel we should have to compromise our values just to win the approval of our neighbors. Well, I think you do think that, and that's what makes you mad. I think you realize that you do have to compromise, but you're a self-important asshole and you don't want to do it.
I want to hang out with these people in Florida. Not those people.
The rest of the neighborhood sounds cool as hell. They're having all kinds of parties and shit. Hell yeah. I'm down. I think what happens here, I think the grandma from the other thing moves to Florida, starts hanging out with this other couple. Now we're good. Everybody's with their own kind. I shouldn't say that so loudly in front of these supreme white people. I apologize.
Yes, I am great.
It's such a weird thing in our society because it's like, I don't know. It's like if you're on the left, like if there are people who will literally crucify you if you accidentally misgender them, right? But then there's people like this who are so homophobic, and it's like these are the group. Like I don't think they ever meet even, and right? It just like of course we're gonna like be on a way to civil war because it's
they do meet on a YouTube show where we bring them together to get as many hits as possible.
Yeah.
They do meet on a place called the Jericho Cruise.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah. By the way, that cruise is going to be hopping this year. A bunch of Steve Bannon's going to have a podcast. It's going to be great.
Dude, if he turned it into...
Just a super... It's the QAnon fucking
cruise. It's a half wrestling, half conservative...
Yeah.
All of a sudden, AJ Styles jumps ship and becomes champ.
No comment.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we don't want to get heat.
It's cool. Fine. It's fine. We'll do one more letter, then we'll get out of here. Dear Abby, my husband has a male coworker named Bo who comes to our house occasionally. We have 2 bathrooms, one of which is in our bedroom. The other is the guest bathroom. When Bo needs to use the restroom, he goes into our bedroom and uses ours. He never asks. He just goes in, even after I have pointed out the guest bathroom. It creeps me out. I feel like he's invading my personal space, and I think it's rude. What can I do since pointing out the guest bathroom hasn't worked? Bo is intimidating. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. Please tell me what I can do. Signed, Creeped Out in Greenville.
No, they're wrong. You know why?
Who is wrong? Who, the person whose house it is?
The person, yes.
Okay, why are they
wrong? This person's taking a shit.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be...
You want to be as far away from the rest
of course,
I understand.
Of course.
Here's my problem, though. How are you shitting every time you go to this person's house?
Maybe, I went to Japan. I've done over 25 trips to Japan.
Sure.
I came back. I bought myself a bidet. Mm. So I have a bidet. Maybe that's where the bidet is. And you want to shit at the place with the bidet.
I had that thought. Not necessarily the bidet, but I had the thought of it's a nicer bathroom. Maybe the guest bathroom doesn't get cleaned as much. It's a little gross or whatever.
I know Biden wants to spend money on air filtration in classrooms, but if we could get some bidets going, what a amazing FDR sort of reconstruction project that would be,
I made the bidet switch at the beginning of the pandemic when we didn't have as much toilet paper readily available. Game changer, 100% agreed. That being said, here's my question. Bo is intimidating, she says. This feels almost like a territory marking cucking situation. This is her husband's coworker coming over and showing who's boss.
But imagine it's me, right?
Yeah.
Like we know me, I'm friendly, but if you just look at me, I'm intimidating. I know that. I'm a professional wrestler.
Big guy, sure.
So I'm saying, hey, I want to go shit away from people so they can't smell my shit when I come out. This is basically me. I am Bo.
Here's my concern, though. I think you are intimidating to someone who doesn't know you, right? If you look at you and see you, you're intimidating. Bo, she knows Bo. He comes to the house sometimes. This isn't a first meet. So he's not intimidating of a presence, and then you know him, and he's like a nice guy. He just happens to be like scary looking. he is intimidating as a dude. He continues to be intimidating. I think Bo is coming into this house. I think he is walking in and heading straight to the bathroom, by the way. I don't think he's even there for long. I think he's going in, taking a shit, and taking off.
Maybe that's his Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
It's
He's got a little
like
locker room.
It's like, I don't care if like somebody who looks like Colt uses my bathroom, but somebody who looks like Jake Roberts, I would be like, all right, well, this is a little weird.
Sure.
It's all about the vibe, you know? What's the vibe?
Yeah.
What's the vibe somebody has? What's going on in that bathroom?
Also, I think you can tell Bo is doing this intentionally because if someone keeps pointing out the other restroom and you regardless keep using the one that they're clearly trying to steer you away from, there needs to be a conversation. And it could be as simple as, I have to shit. Maybe Bo has a colostomy bag and he needs more privacy to deal with it, and he doesn't talk about it because it's like personal and scary. There's any number of reasons why, but Bo needs to be upfront about it at some point. Otherwise, this is going to continue to be a problem.
Yeah, like you said, though, it could be a power move.
I think it's a power move. I think there's nothing. Look, if you walk into somebody's house and you just go, I shit where I want, that is very much you establishing dominance.
But I'm saying he likes the idea that he's intimidating over people.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And so sometimes, like, if my mom really wants to know, like, who I'm dating or what I'm doing, I don't tell her. And it's because I think it's fun that she wants to know so bad, And so I hold that power.
I know a comic who, like, went into Jamie Kennedy's green room when he was dating Jennifer Love Hewitt and just fucking dropped the nastiest shit and then left.
Oh, I do.
Didn't do it to spite him. Just was like, all right, if I tell you who the person, you'll totally get it.
Yeah.
But like they're just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, have a good one. No idea.
I do think green rooms should have a pretty strong no shitting rule, right? I think everyone can agree. You go to the main club bathroom to shit, and you don't shit in the green room bathroom. I think that's fair. Do you shit in the green room bathroom, Dan?
I look. Different states have different rules. I sound like Dalia now. No, no, I don't know. I probably have. Yeah, for sure.
No, I very much as a fat dude who knows his shits are unpleasant. I make a very strong point to. Although I will say, a comic who has since passed, I was on his tour bus and. Whoo boy, howdy, was that bathroom something to behold after he was done.
Wow, I wonder who. I'm pretty sure who that is. I wonder who that. I'm almost 100% positive who that is.
Possibly be who it was. But yeah, I think that's another rule. You don't shit on tour buses, but what do I know? I've only been on one.
Hey, you don't pee in the wind.
Sure.
You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't shit in that green room.
I think this person is absolutely right to feel like they get your master bedroom is yours, right? That seems like if you have a master bedroom, guest bedroom, bathroom situation, that's yours, man. It seems weird. I would feel uncomfortable going into somebody's bedroom to go take a shit.
Here's the overlying theme of this show, Chris. These people write in and we have to find a reason to hate them. I don't like that you are on their side.
That's really, let's just ruin these people's lives. I have a question. What do you think's worse? Like having like somebody shitting in your house, or that when you realize you have to take a shit and people are in the next room? Because I think that's the one thing that I always have to keep in my mind, because the times where I've had to take a shit and people are like right there, it's just so humiliating.
For sure.
Right. And that's why this person is going to the furthest place away from everybody.
Yes, exactly.
And I'll tell you this, I did live in an apartment once where the only bathroom was off the bedroom. There was a living room, kitchen situation, then you go into the one bedroom, and that was the only bathroom. And man, it was terrible to have people over because like you'd have to clean your bedroom all the time. You know what I mean? Like, because otherwise you felt weird. And like, it was just a horrible, horrible situation. Which is why this person has a guest bedroom. So that's not the problem. I don't know. Or guest bathroom rather. I don't know. I'm all against Bo. I feel like Bo is really the problem.
Oh, knows.
Because also what else? There's a very simple fix for Bo. Just don't go shit in that bedroom or don't go shit in that bathroom. And he's refusing to do it. Like, shit before you get there. Shit when you leave. I don't know. Or Change your diet. I don't know what to tell you.
I like Bo. You're wrong.
There was a documentary I watched once. Oh, what the fuck was it called?
About shitting in people's bathrooms?
No, it was about people that were obsessed.
They're really at a documentary idea.
It was a 6-part. It was a 6-part
Ken Burns
six-part-
documentary about shitting in other people's bathrooms.
The best part were the letters home from the bathroom that Keith David would read. There was a documentary about people that were obsessed with going to movies, and they spent their whole life based on going to movies, and they planned everything about that. They were relatively mentally ill. A lot of them were hoarders, that sort of stuff. But these people would change their diet so that they were shitting less because they didn't want to leave a movie. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know why I brought that up. Oh, I brought that up because I feel like, Bo, have some peanut butter or something. I don't know what you're doing. And you have to
That's
shit
so
goddamn.
bizarre because the Venn diagram of people who like to watch movies and take long shits, it's like 2 circles on top of one another, you know? It's like, it's so,
Well, this
like, I'm part of that for sure.
This definitely was pre-streaming, so I don't think people were watching as many movies on their laptop. I feel like people would just be staying in that bathroom all day now if they had the technology we have. Well, guys, this has been a blast. Colt, anything you want to plug while we got you?
Oh, Wednesday nights, please watch AEW Dynamite on TNT, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Also, I'm on Twitch a lot. I really enjoy on Twitch TV/Colt Cabana.
I know you've been on Twitch now. Do you enjoy that? Has that been like fun?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. It gives me something to do. I enjoy interacting. And also I found it to be a very, very positive community. And I've said this to a lot of the other wrestlers is that we find like in our chat rooms while we're streaming, it's one of the most positive platforms as opposed to the negativity of Twitter and Facebook and whatever. But Twitch, you know, the people that want to be there are there not to hate on you, but they're there to show you love. So it's really nice.
That's awesome.
And Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana and YouTube and TikTok.
Do all those things, Dan. You're at the Acme Comedy Club this week. Next
week, yeah, it should be fun. I also have a wrestling podcast that Colt has done called Total Effing Marks, but we just added Mike Lawrence, so it's Mike Lawrence, me, Robert Karpelis, who runs the WWE Creative-ish Twitter account. He's really funny, and Scott Chaplin is super funny. And hopefully the stuff that I'm filming in the next, couple months happens. But, let's just hope mutations don't happen with this virus, because unfortunately, I feel like sports and wrestling are like the only things that can be filmed right now. Everything else is getting freaking stopped.
Yeah. Well, I am at Chris Cubis on all social media. You can go to badadvicewithchriscubis.com and figure out where to subscribe and all that stuff there. Please leave us those 5-star reviews and ratings. They help us a ton. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.